Alright guys, so I have the Everlast plasma cutter cranked up to 80 amps. Yes, I do have this thing hooked up and running now. And I'm fixing to show you what this thing will do to 3/4 inch thick cast iron. So, this is cast iron. And as you can see, it is 3/4, actually it's, actually it's 7/8 thick. So hold on there a second. Let me whack this off. Guys, I haven't messed with a plasma cutter in, well, since the late 1900s, and back then, you know, 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thickness was as good as they got. This thing was, you know, the company Everlast, my contact, he wanted to know what the thickest gates were we cut, and I said, well, you know, 3/8, and if it'll cut that, I'll be happy. I had no idea we were going to be able to cut 7/8 cast iron with this thing. And not only will it cut that, it will cut aluminum. I have already sliced up some of that. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys what this machine will do. This is the Everlast 82i, and I'm running at 80 amps. Actually, 80 amps is as high as I can go, but it was plenty, as you could see. You know, this machine is going to be more or less for cutting the gates off castings. You know, when we were in awkward position that we couldn't get in there with a grinder. And I'm going to tell you guys, this is going to be my go-to tool from here on out. The grinder, you know, that's going to be for knocking flashing off and stuff. Well, let's see how this is going to work. We probably have up to 3/4 of an inch thick on this runner, and I'm cutting in the edge. This thing is, I'm not breathing any grinding dust. So these have what I call a training wheel. I'm going to take this off because I think I can do a lot better job articulating the torch with this out of the way. So I'm very happy with that so far. We're going to get the next trees and go ahead and trim them up. As I said, I'm keeping a very safe distance away from the actual casting on these. Guys, I am really liking this. I'm going to be honest with you. I picked this up a month ago and started using it, and I said I was going to need more practice with it. But after I took that guide off, I can get down in there where I need to, and I'm keeping the tip about a 1/4 inch away from the actual casting, so it's not contaminating the tip. I like being able to get down in these areas where it's so hard to get with a grinder. This is a good example of what I'm talking about. I can get in here with this torch. On the grinder, if I try to cut these off from the back side, I can do that, but there's a good chance I won't be able to see my end of the casting, and I could cut into it. I can actually see exactly what I'm doing here. And now that I've taken the guide off, I'm noticing I'm able to get up a lot closer with a lot more accuracy. Well, guys, that was not only a much easier, faster way to cut these off without damaging the castings, especially after I took this off. This is ideal for keeping a consistent height on flat surfaces, but as you saw here, we didn't have any flat surfaces. It was all irregular shapes. And I examined the nozzle, and the nozzle seems to look just fine, and it's cutting just as good as it did the first time I tried it. The amperage adjustment is right here. I started off at 20 amps, and I decided, you know, let's go on up to 30. And of course, you can see you can go all the way up to 80 amps and cut almost 1 inch thick material. If I had 1 inch thick material on hand, we would see if it'd cut it. I have no reason to believe it wouldn't at this point. I gotta admit, I didn't read the manual. So it was very easy for me to just get this set up and running. I did do enough research to know that you want to keep this light right in the middle, and that is as simple as just dialing the regulator up or down to achieve that marginal area right there. I don't know what this is. I do know CNC. If we had this plugged into a CNC, I think there's a serial port back there you could connect to the CNC table to communicate with a computer on this, but we're doing this freehand, of course. So now I have Josie an entire pile of these castings to start off with, and get these ground and clean up. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in a plasma cutter like the one I got, I will share the link in the description below, along with my contact, Jesse, and his number. If you have any questions in regard to this machine, feel free to give him a call. He's been more than helpful with me getting this set up and going. Not only do I want to thank Everlast for supplying us with this plasma cutter, I want to thank my good friend Steve Watkins. If it hadn't been for him, this wouldn't have happened. Steve and I were talking about grinding dust all over the place, I believe, and I made the statement, if I had a plasma cutter that would cut gates, I would go that route. And he said, well, let me get a hold of somebody for you. And he did. They contacted me. They sent me a machine. And I was reluctant about using one of these at first, just because it's been so very long since I used one. I wasn't sure what their capabilities would be
I knew based off the experiences I had using one back in the late 1900s, it probably wouldn't be suitable. But man, this thing, it's not just cutting cast iron. It cuts aluminum, bronze, brass, cuts everything I've got a gate for so far. So I'm very happy with this. Thank you, Everlast, and thank you, Steve, for making this happen. I will be using this very soon on, we have to do a retrofit on the belt sander that Mike Wiggins gave me, and do away with that apparatus that connects the motor to the drive inline. I want to completely do away with that coupling and put a regular belt on there with 2 pulleys. So we're going to need to do some cutting, make a base that's on a hinge that will float and let the tension on the belt. We're going to have to do that. We also have a super duper cherry picker we're building later. I don't know when. And this thing's going to, you know, like a roll around engine hoist, except this thing's going to be able to pick up a tank. Yeah, we're building this thing. We're way overkill on it. So yes, I have a lot of things coming up that I'll greatly appreciate the plasma cutter for. I've got one more video coming out tomorrow, if I can hurry up and get all this stuff going, tied together. But in the meantime, I want you guys to have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And Dollar was all jumping up and down earlier, partying like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, she gets super excited this time of the year. But anyway, guys, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.